Hello, sixth graders. We are looking at dividing decimals. Our learning target you need to write down is I can divide decimals. All right, some rules that we need to know when we are dividing decimals. The first part here is when we have a decimal and we are dividing it by a whole number. So pause, excuse me, write these steps down and then come back. So step 1, place a decimal point directly above the decimal under the division bracket. Step 2, divide to find the quotient. So when we're dividing, the first number is always what goes inside the division bracket. That's what we are trying to split up. Second number goes on the outside. So this outside number is whole. We don't have to do anything. So with this 94/100ths, we take the decimal and we carry it straight up above. All right. And now we just divide like normal. So 3 can't go into 0, so I fill it in with a 0. 3 goes into 9 3 times. Multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. Do your subtraction. Bring down your next number. 3 goes into 4 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. Do your subtraction. 4 minus 3 is 1. Now, in sixth grade, we do not have remainders, so we keep dividing either until the decimal stops or we find that it's a repeating decimal, which means that it's continuing and it doesn't have an end. So now what I have to do is I add another 0 and I drop the 0 down. Now I see how many times 3 goes into 10. Well, it goes in there 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Do your subtraction. We get 1. Again, I still have a number left over, so I add another 0, drop it down. 3 goes into 10 3 times. Multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. And if you notice, it's just going to keep repeating the same thing over and over again. So this is a repeating decimal, which means that it's not going to end. The same pattern continues. So what we do is we write that answer 0 decimal 3 1, and then it's the 3 that's going to keep repeating. So I write that with bar notation. That's what's called when it has a bar above the top. That tells us that that 3 keeps on going. So that right there is my final answer. Next one, again, first number is what goes inside the bracket. Second number goes on the outside. Carry the decimal straight up above. And now we divide like normal. 6 goes into 9 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. Do your subtraction. 9 minus 6 is 3. Bring down the 4. 6 goes into 34 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. Do your subtraction. 34 minus 30 is 4. Bring down the 2. 6 goes into 42 7 times. Now we multiply. 7 times 6 is 42. Do your subtraction. 42 minus 42, I'm going to just scroll up here. 42 minus 42 is 0. Bring down the next number. 6 goes into 1 0 times, so I write a 0. Now I multiply. 0 times 6 is 0. Subtract. I'm just following the same steps that we learned in our dividing whole number video. Now I have a number left over, nothing else to drop down, so I add a 0 to drop down. 6 goes into 10 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. Do your subtraction, which is 4. Add a 0. We don't have anything repeating so far, so we got to keep going. 6 goes into 40 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. Do your subtraction. Zoom out so I have more space here. 40 minus 36 is 4. Add a 0. 6 goes into 40 6 times. 36. 4. So now I have to the point where it's repeating. So that's going to tell me that it's just going to keep going, same thing over and over again. So now we can write that, the number that we got, using bar notation. So 15, our decimal. The 701, they don't repeat. The 6 is where it repeats. So I put the bar notation only over the 6, since that's the only number that's repeating. And that right there is my answer. All right, now we are looking at when we have a decimal divided by a decimal. A little bit different steps. Write these down and then come back and follow along. Step 1, move both decimal points to the right the same number of places to make the outside number whole. Step 2, place the decimal directly above the decimal in the box. And then step 3, divide to find the quotient. So we write the first, just like before, first number goes inside the bracket. Now this second number goes outside the bracket. And it's a decimal. We need to make it a whole number. So we move the decimal one spot to the right. Whatever we do on the outside number, we have to do on the inside. So we take the inside number here and we move the decimal one to the right. So now it's behind the 6. And then from there, we carry it directly up above. Now we think of the numbers as 3 and 126, and then we divide. 3 can't go into 1. However, it goes into 12 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. Do your subtraction. Bring down the next number. 3 goes into 6 2 times. Multiply. 2 times 3 is 6. Do your subtraction. Nothing else left over. Answer is 42. Next one, 2 and 36/100ths. We need to make that whole. If you feel comfortable, pause here and try this on your own. Otherwise, keep following along. Just move up here so I have more space to work. All right, so we have to make this outside number whole. So we move the decimal 1 2 spots. So now we think of that as 236. So on my number under the bracket, we move it 1 2, and then from there we carry it straight up above. And now we divide. 236 can't go into 2, can't go into 26, but it goes into 264 one time. So we multiply. 236 times 1 is 236. We have to subtract. I can't take 6 away from 4, so I have to regroup. 5, so this becomes 14. 14 minus 6 is 8. 5 minus 3 is 2. Drop down the 3. 236 goes into 283 one time. Multiply. 236. Do your subtraction. Can't take 6 away from 3, so we have to regroup. So this is now 13. 13 minus 6 is 7. 7 minus 3 is 4. 2 minus 2 is 0. Bring down the next number. Now we have to figure out how many times can 236 go into 472. So I'm going to guess twice. So we're going to multiply. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. 2 times 2 is 4. 472. So it goes in there twice. Multiply 472. Do your subtraction. 0. Now there's nothing else to bring down. We got 0 for an answer, or for down at the bottom here. So our final answer is 11 and 2/10. One more. Again, pause, try it on your own if you feel comfortable. Otherwise, keep following along with us. 1 and 5/10, we need to make it a whole number. So we move the decimal one spot to the right. So we have to do that on the number under the bracket. And then we carry it straight up above from there. Be very careful to keep your numbers lined up. This is where it gets really important. If you have a number in the wrong spot, your whole answer is wrong. So now we're looking at 15 into 832 and 5/10. 15 can't go into 8, but it can go into 83. I know it goes in there 5 times. 5 times 15 is 75. Do our subtraction. I got to do some regrouping here. 13 minus 5 is 8. 7 minus 7 is 0. Bring down the 2. 15 goes into 82 5 times again. 5 times 15 is 75. Do your subtraction. 82, I can't, so I'm going to regroup. 12 minus 5 is 7. 7 minus 7 is 0. Drop down the 5. 15 goes into 75 5 times. 5 times 15 is 75. Lots of 75s on here. 75 minus 75 is 0. Nothing else to bring down. No numbers left over. So my answer is 55 and 5/10. All right, that is the end of the dividing decimals video here. If you are stuck, go back and rewatch the examples, try them again, and then come to class with questions tomorrow.